For World Book Night this year, I wanted to highlight a bookshop that I went to recently. It's called Eclipse Books, as it says on the side of their bags. And I wanted to do this because I want to support an independent bookshop that I really like. I went there in March, and it's a tiny bookshop. It's only got a very short staircase up to the second floor. I was really surprised by how many books are in there, given the size of it, and also what a variety there is. It's a very small place, but it has a lot to offer. And the person who runs it, I think it's two people. Only one of them was there when I was there at the time, but they clearly know how to get the most out of what space they have, because the variety and the range was just incredible, and it was one of the biggest spends that I ever made at a bookshop. And I'm going to put details in the description, etc. So I'm going to start with this bag. I actually got two bags because of how much I bought. So the first one, and I was just going on vibes. I was just going in there because it's a relatively new shop. I was just going in there, seeing what interested me, and just walking out with whatever I found. So the first one here is Future Boy, Back to the Future and My Journey Through the Space-Time Continuum by Michael J. Fox and Nell Fortenberry. Michael J. Fox has published multiple books in his life. How does it say how many? I don't think so. No, but it was recently the big 40th anniversary of Back to the Future, and I finally managed to watch it theatrically because it was re-released. Oh yeah, he's also written Lucky Man, Always Looking Up, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future, and No Time Like the Future. So this is his fifth book that he's written, and I wanted to read it simply because he's written it. I don't really know all that much about it, given how much he's already covered Back to the Future in his other books, but I thought, well, it's recently had its big re-release, and I was able to watch it theatrically, and I do love that film, so I'm going to want to read any book about it that I can, really. So that's Future Boy. I'm going to be adding that to the list. All of these are books I'm going to get around to eventually. I just don't know how long it will take to get to any particular book. The second here is, this is another good one. I am really surprised, given that it's a new bookshop and that it has limited space. This is the kind of thing that I was really surprised to find, because one of the things they had, and this is clearly the people who run it knowing the audience, knowing what to put in each section, because they have all the main genres, but it's knowing specifically what's likely to be of interest to someone who likes that particular genre. It's not just the mainstream stuff, it's really niche things. So what they have here is The Chimes of Midnight by Robert Shearman. This is a very interesting artifact. It's a novelization of a Doctor Who audio drama, because Robert Shearman wrote the episode Dalek, which was loosely adapted from an audio drama he wrote called Jubilee. He also wrote The Chimes of Midnight, which, depending on who you ask, is arguably the finest example of Big Finish as an audio drama production company in terms of their output and the production values and the script. I can't comment because I actually haven't listened to it yet, but now that I have the novelization, it's not the script book, it is a brand new novelization. And I'm really surprised that they've been doing these, actually, because I wouldn't have thought they'd be of interest to that many people, because within Doctor Who fandom, the Big Finish section is considerably small, and then within that, how many of them are going to want to read the novelizations? But it's a small dedicated group. I love the fact that this was written and that it was published, and I was amazed to see that it was in that bookshop. So I'm going to be getting around to that one eventually. I think I got to listen to the audio drama first, though, in order to understand how much the novelisation compares. I could just read the novelisation to begin with, but the thing about The Chimes of Midnight is, it is, from what I hear, it is specifically written for the audio drama medium. It's not just a story that was done as an audio drama, it was written specifically to be done on audio. So I'm interested to hear how true that is when I finally listen to it, and also to see how well that's been adapted to prose. Now, this third book, this is very nice. This is very nice. Sometimes I'll buy a book just because I like how well published it's been in terms of the size, the publishing quality, just because I like it as an object. You know what I mean? Sometimes you buy a book just because you really want to have that specific object, because you like the way that object has been made, regardless of what it necessarily is. What I have here is from the World Classics Library. H.G. Wells. And this includes The War of the Worlds, The Invisible Man, The First Men in the Moon, and The Time Machine. And also, it's got this on the side. I forget what the word is when the edges of each page form an image. This is not the spine. This is the spine. The edges of the pages look like that, forming the image of a Martian tripod. And I don't know what that's called, but it's very nice. And also, the cover is embossed. I really love red and gold book covers. I've got a Complete Stories of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle, which is similar to this, but it's a different publisher. But I really love it when there's like an anthology of a certain series or author that's been published as one big volume in red, with that sort of, I'm not sure what the material is, but you know the material, I mean, and it has gold embossed on the cover. I really adore that. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. Oh, right. Would you understand what I meant if I said it smells like Christmas morning? Oh, it smells like a new toy I've just opened. It really, oh, God. Pardon me. Oh, the smell of books. You know, I was watching, speaking of science fiction, and speaking of the Time Machine, I was watching, last night, I was watching a Doctor Who two-parter, Silence in the Library, and there's a scene where the Doctor is explaining that in the future, you'll have like holovids and direct-to-brain downloads and fiction mist, but people will never stop loving books because of the way they smell. And I think this is one of the best smelling books. Oh God. Oh, this is one of the best smelling books that I've got in my collection now. To be honest, a part of me wants to not read it and to just sort of store it on my shelf and never open it so that the smell doesn't fade. I'm tempted, honestly. I'm tempted. Right, well that's that bag done, and now on to the second. It was because that other book was so big that I had to have a second book. So this is some more interesting stuff now. Let's see. Yes, so this is the 50th anniversary edition of Jaws by Peter Benchley. I have seen the film of Jaws, but I haven't read the original novel. In fact, not a lot of people know it's based on a novel. Because it's not, because with a genre film, especially a horror film, people don't tend to know that it's based on literature, but it is based on literature. I have. This also smells pretty good. Oh, I really love this format of publishing, where it's not exactly mass market, and it's not exactly a sort of paperback that you can put in your back pocket, but it's that sort of really compact where it's all pressed together. that might be a completely meaningless description that only I'm understanding. But, I really love also the typography on this because it's printed in it's not Times New Roman. At least I don't think it's Times New Roman. It's that sort of oldie fashionedy font. Telegraph, I think it is. But I'm really interested to see how well this compares with the film. Is the film better or not? I don't know. But it's also got lots of bonus content as well. It's got a foreword by Wendy eventually, and then an introduction, then the actual prose text of the novel. But after that, it's got like a good chunk of it is the bonus content. It's got alternate titles that were considered, the original title page, title idea brainstorm list, letter from Peter Benchley to David Brown, who co-produced the Jaws film with Richard Knuck, excerpt from Peter Benchley's book Shark Trouble, his personal account of writing the book Jaws, setting the movie, and working with Steven Spielberg, and then photos from the Jaws set. Some of which I believe I've seen. I think I've seen the one of Spielberg with Bruce the shark. So that's going to be one that I can put on my shelf somewhere if I can find the space. I've got my shelf right next to me. In my last video I did about a book, I had the camera way down there so I could fit the whole bookshelf into the side. It didn't really work visually. I wasn't happy with it, but we just learn as we go. So I'm going to put this one back down. Okay, so the next one up. What's this one? Ah, yes. An author. I think probably the author I've read the most. I must have read more of this author than any other author in my life. It's The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. This originated as a podcast where the idea was to review everything. It was a review podcast, but this one was about reviewing literally everything. No limit at all. Anything that exists or anything that has been created by the human race. Because people will review books and films and things, and what I like about reviewing books is that, well, it's been made by a human being, and it's telling you their perspective on the world, their experience of life, the way they see things. It's an extract into their mind. Supposedly, though, surely that would also follow for everything else that a human being has made. Even if it's not necessarily a work of art, anything that a human being has made has been made for a certain reason, because it needed to fulfill something in them or to match a need that they had for something. So the Anthropocene Reviewed, that was the premise of it, to review everything that has been made by the human race. And that led to a tie-in book by John Green. And it's his first non-fiction book as well. And I have to say, actually, I've never listened to the podcast. Because John Green, he puts out so many things that I just can't keep up. I can keep up with his books, because a book is something that doesn't come out every single week. But I do struggle to keep up with absolutely everything he does. But the Anthropocene Reviewed, I've been looking for this for a while. I could have ordered it from Amazon. I didn't want to do that. I like supporting independent local bookstores. And I like being able to find something myself in the wild. You know what I mean? It's more meaningful if I come across it myself instead of just seeking it out on the internet where I know I can find it. I like coming across them. It just has more meaning for me when I can come across them. Thing is, do I shelve this with the rest of my John Green books to have their own section, or do I put this in the non-fiction? I'm not sure where I'm going to shelve this. Shelve it according to the author or shelve it according to the genre? I'm not sure, because I have Paper Towns, Will Grayson, Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, The Fault in Our Stars, Turtles All the Way Down, and Let It Snow. And actually, the one thing that bugs me about Looking for Alaska, despite the fact that I think it's his best book, is that it's not the original edition. The others are all original editions, and they all follow that same John Green book spine template, where it's got that same thing with the letters in that specific typeface down the side. Looking for Alaska is a slightly different format, because it's not the original, so I don't really know. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Alright, what is the next one? Aha! Techno-Feudalism by Yanis Varoufakis, which is something I've heard of a lot on the internet. Ooh, I have to say, it's not the best publishing quality. It is slightly frayed at the side, but whatever. What can you do? Techno-Feudalism. So, Yanis Varoufakis, who actually I recently discovered was an advisor to Valve for a couple of years. He was an advisor to Valve. They brought him in to look at how they would migrate between one digital ecosystem and another one. And he's written about his experiences, talking about how sort of Gabe Newell is the only business leader who's really figured out how to let things work efficiently and also to the satisfaction of the people who are using the service. But I should probably talk about the book. So, techno-feudalism. I've heard this phrase mentioned in multiple videos and articles about what exactly is happening to the internet. We all know it's getting worse. There are more ads everywhere. There is less a sense of ownership. There is less a sense of community. It's becoming a lot more like a product and a service than an actual place you can be with other people. It's losing its individualism. It's losing its sense of identity. Why is that? And it's because over the years, more and more businesses have been realizing that the internet can be an advantage for them, especially if they directly control it. And so techno-feudalism, the idea of it is that as the internet becomes much more of a place, in the literal sense of being a place, that the corporations that control the websites are becoming increasingly dominant and increasingly controlling of those websites that they run in a way that is essentially resembling the feudal system of the Middle Ages. It's a bit more complicated than I can understand, to be honest. But that's why I wrote the book, so that I can have a better sense of it, and so that I can understand it more, and then I can explain it better. I can only just get my head around the concept. So I look forward to reading this a lot, because I am generally familiar with the surface of Yanis Varoufakis. I know that he was a Greek finance minister, and I know that he's been cited by a lot of other people. I tend not to read economics books, actually. Economics is probably my least read subject other than sports, but I don't care about sports. So who knows, maybe this will do something for me, but I am fascinated by the idea of this. So I'm going to be getting around to that whenever I can, when it's next on the list, essentially. I always like to have something up next, and we'll just have to see where that fits in. I actually know what I'm going to be reading next. I don't want to say what it is in case I end up not doing that, in case I change my mind for some reason. And then the final one, this also has a particularly bad dust cover. It's a bit frayed, you know, it's only the dust cover. Usually when I'm reading a book, I'll take the dust cover off, because it tends to get in the way. But so this is, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the author's name, Cory Doctorow, I'm not sure. It's N-shitification, why everything suddenly got worse and what to do about it. And actually, oddly enough, this has, if I'm not mistaken, hang on. Aha, yes, wait a second. Is it really chapter 1? I'm sure there was something in here that I was going to talk about. Is it not there? Did I imagine it? I must have done. Oh wait, no, it wasn't in the book. It was on the back of the book. It's so on the back. It's been cited by Yanis Varoufakis, author of Techno-Feudalism. So this is a similar thing, but in more broad ways. It's not specifically about the internet as such. It's just about all technology in general, and about the way that it's also apps, it's also hardware, and it's the way that as the internet becomes all-encompassing and involved in absolutely everything, and as the competition, as the alternatives to the internet decline because they stop being supported, decline of actual paperwork or just a human on the end of the phone that you can talk to yourself, the internet becomes the only option because it's being forced upon us by the people who are deliberately ensuring that the alternatives become increasingly less viable, so that we have to use the internet. But the internet, for the same reason, is becoming worse and worse as the people who are benefiting from running it want increasing control. This is also not something I can explain easily because I'm not that well read up on it. That's why I bought the book. But I'm just looking at the various chapters they've got, and it's things like lack of regulation, decline of privacy, the decline of labour, jobs being replaced by automation on the internet. It's the worst offenders, people like Meta, Amazon, Apple, X, basically Silicon Valley in general. The decline of competition, the way that absolutely everything is being replaced with an app that we are being forced to use simply because that's the only way of doing it. And if you don't download the app, that you can't do it. And the way that choice and options and consumers, the way that everything is being funneled so that there's only one way of doing everything, so that way there's less choice for consumers, and I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this. I ought to hope, maybe I'm really hoping, right? Okay, so the way I'm not very good at explaining what the book is about is because of how deep it goes, and I'm hoping that once I've read it, I can actually coherently describe what it's about. But you get the picture. Question is, do I read this with Techno-Feudalism, or because they do seem like they could be paired together? I'm not sure. But that's all the books that I bought from, there it is, Eclipse Books. And I wanted to shout them out for World Book Night 2026, if anything, because I needed an idea for this year, and that came up. So there we are. I'm going to be putting a link in the description to information about that bookstore, and happy World Book Night. That is all.